In the 1960s, there was a TV game show called Truth or Consequences, where if a contestant gave the wrong answer to a trivia question, the player had to do a wacky stunt. Today, the ridiculous answers being used to solve this pandemic or questionable police practices is not much different. This pandemic and Black Lives Matter riots has caused a huge consequence with similar results to that silly game show. Things we considered very important and sacred before are being ignored, with the consequences, these riots and unfounded fears of this pandemic. The so-called experts are predicting things that never happened before when compared to thousands of other viruses about which we know. Why is herd immunity ignored now while nature used it to protect the species for many millennia? Why is a resurgence considered a disaster and something to fear, and a sign of mismanagement while other flu infections commonly reoccur? Why are deaths from H1N1 and pneumonia no longer reported, but being lumped together and called COVID-19 deaths? Why is the daily decrease in COVID-19 deaths no longer being reported while new infections are always leading the headlines? The increase in COVID-19 infections after hundreds of thousands of tests is inevitable and cannot be blamed on poor leadership, after consistent applications of social distancing demands are ignored. Sooner or later, we will all get it, and as nature takes its course. It is vital to the liberal agenda that cases continue to increase. There are reports of nurses sending in new, unused sterile test swabs for analysis that come back positive. The hypocrisy of condoning riots but condemning parties on the beach or going to church are the consequences of this hypocritical logic. They want to instill the fear of death if we do not follow their mandates about the disease, where the recovery rate is over 90%, 97% of all the reported cases. Since 2017, over 2,700 people died while police were doing their job stopping crimes, of which over half were white. But the riots for justice are all we hear, when only 26% of those who were killed by police were black. To add to the hypocrisy, nothing is being done to stop abortion of millions of babies each year, of which over half are black, but only 13% of the population. They celebrate when abortion clinics are considered necessary and stay open, but nothing is done to encourage black fathers to raise their families in a two-parent home. These inconsistencies are very curious when placed in the circumstance of today's political environment. The war is for our minds and has two sides who want exactly the opposite things to happen. One is trying to return to normal as quickly as possible, while the other side is finding every excuse to keep this madness going with the consequences of destroying the country. The protestors are taking no personal responsibility for their actions. None can articulate what they really want done, but are quick to complain about the faux systemic racism and the fabricated statistics from the polls that are misleading or wrong regarding the pandemic or police crime. The chaos in Seattle is only the tip of the iceberg, with anarchy, murder, rape, and extortion the predictable results. These thugs in the liberal left demand changes they don't understand and can't describe, much less give examples of what worked before following their demands. The explanation for this madness is that they have nothing to lose. These are consequences of sanctuary city policies, poor public school education, political correctness, socialistic movements spawned by liberal colleges, cities, and states where their misguided illogical thinking is what they believe will make the world a better place. It is absolutely incredible this could happen in the greatest country on earth. This is Keith Kube wishing you the best in making the world a better place.